There is nothing to talk about with all this. They all perfectly understood that the moment they started talking about NATO, they were condemning the country to a conflict with Russia. All geopolitics, and I will never get tired of repeating this, comes down to one simple thing: the flight time of the enemy's missile. From Warsaw, we have time to intercept it. From near Kharkiv, we don't. The moment they let NATO in, they knew perfectly well that we would never allow missiles to be deployed near Kharkiv. Under no circumstances. You cannot live with a knife at your throat.
In Moscow, the chatter keeps getting louder. Dreams of a special alliance with the US are all over the Kremlin airwaves. The goal? They don't even try to hide it, slap Europe in face and watch NATO crumble. And when it comes to peace in Ukraine, same old story, but only on Russia's terms. This is what Moscow really wants, and yes, they're openly saying it. New week, new Russian nonsense. I'm Sophia, and this is Spin Snipers, where we tear apart Kremlin drama and serve up the brutal facts fast. Russia is practically celebrating behind the scenes, thrilled about their Greenland situation and fantasizing about special alliance with the US. It's classic Kremlin strategy: divide, intimidate, and dominate. In Moscow, they are practically popping champagne over how shaky the Donbas forum looked, as if global nerves were their personal victory. Watch closely, because this is exactly how they spin weakness into power.
When it is stated outright, Russia is not the enemy. The last time they said that Russia was not an enemy was in the 19th century. In the 19th century, when Mark Twain delivered a letter of gratitude from the American people to the Russian emperor. After that, Russia was called an enemy. And now they're saying, no, not an enemy. The enemy is the European Union and international corporations. And what do we see now? Macron is hysterical. He looks like Basilio the cat. He gets smacked right in the face. Bam! And Trump says, "Who is Macron?" He doesn't care. Macron doesn't have much time left anyway.
Now the Kremlin's fire is not aimed at Macron. The Brits are on their receiving end too. In Russia's twisted narrative, Britain has somehow become a problem not just for the US, but for continental Europe as well. It's a convention story: cast everyone else as a threat while Moscow framed itself as the victim.
Together with continental Europe, essentially against the backdrop of the Ukrainian conflict, they are acting against the Americans. And of course, the Americans will do everything, one way or another, not by forcing them outright economically, but by supporting people like Nigel Farage.
Do Americans love Britain? They hate it. Do Americans love Canada? The public humiliations in American history actually came from territory that later became Canada.
They never like anyone. And Canadians don't like Americans either. And nobody likes the English at all. Anyone who's been to France knows this. Ask any French person something in English. Not a single one will ever answer you in English. And they decided to unite into some kind of alliance. So we stock up on sunflower seeds and watch what happens next.
Russia is using the Greenland situation to stoke fear and chaos. According to Kremlin propaganda, NATO is crumbling, and Trump's interest in Greenland somehow proves it. Here is the reality. Yes, there has been talk of US interest in Greenland, but that doesn't mean NATO is falling apart. Moscow is twisted this moment to frame the West as weak and divided while they continue pushing their aggression in Ukraine.
It's actually quite amusing to watch NATO dissolve right before our eyes. I mean, we've already seen armed clashes within NATO before, like when it came to Greece and Turkey. But to see something like that now, that would be really entertaining. I'm still waiting for someone to invoke Article 5, no?
Honestly, the Russians are kind of people who could take any moment to strike at Europe, maybe even test NATO's Article 5. And on their own TV, they don't even try to hide it. Bold? Sure. Crazy? Absolutely.
I actually hope that we will finally, through joint efforts, strike Nazi Europe and bring it back to its senses, unless the peoples of Europe rise up earlier and sweep away these usurpers of power. How does the French national anthem go? To arms, citizens!
Power grabs? Those only exist in the Kremlin. In Europe, elections are legitimate. People vote for their presidents, elect their parliaments, and even if some countries shift to the right, that's democracy working. Citizens respond to politics, to global events, and make their own choices. Whether right or wrong, that's for them to decide. Meanwhile, in Russia, stability means one person controlling everything, silencing dissent, and using violence against everyone who disagrees. That's the so-called order in Moscow, a calm surface hiding fear, repression, and absolute power. Speaking of democracy, here's what Russia is trying to show down Europe's throat: their version of order, control, intimidation, and rewriting the rules to suit themselves.
For us, Europe can remain a backwater, weak, incapable of anything. That kind of Europe suits us just fine.
If that's what they want, then by all means.
And what other options do we have? Europe of culture, fine. Europe of museums, fine. Europe of resorts, fine. Europe of the military-industrial complex? No. Europe as an industrial powerhouse? No. Europe as a potential threat? No.
And while some in the US, yes, even Trump, ramble about Russia being ready for peace, let's hear it straight from the source. Spoiler alert, nothing has changed. Not an inch, not a word. Russia's action and words are exactly the same: aggressive, cynical, and aimed at maintaining control.
The issue of withdrawing Ukrainian troops is still presented, at least in Ukrainian media, as a red line and an absolutely unacceptable option. This gives us grounds to believe that we cannot even talk about a ceasefire, let alone a broader settlement of the conflict. And to be completely frank, how can one even speak about conflict resolution in principle if we have not even begun a format of direct negotiations between Ukraine and Russia?
So here is the reality: Russia is not ready to compromise. They keep demanding a full withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from Donbas and call it a desire for peace. If Ukraine were to give up their main territory in Donbas, it wouldn't be a step toward peace. It would be a capitulation. Surrendering Donbas would mean giving Russia to a foothold to dictate terms, control resources, and weaken Ukraine's sovereignty. It's not just about land. It's about sending a signal that aggression pays off. And if anyone really thinks that Russia will honor any agreement, you've either incredibly naive or have not been paying attention for the last 15 years. Russia did not suddenly become aggressive in 2014. This is a long-standing pattern. Just look at Chechnya, Georgia, Moldova. The list goes.
Zelensky was told clearly, either you agree to these terms, or that's it. Goodbye. The talk is over. And Zelensky made his choice. He made his choice. He is with Europe. And that means that in the near future, I do not rule out an alliance between Russia and the United States to fight European Nazism.
And while Russian propagandists are fantasizing about some kind of holy alliance with the United States against Europe, Putin himself has rolled out an even more brilliant idea. I honestly don't know how else to describe it. He is now openly sketching a scheme to get Russia's frozen assets back, as if nothing happened, as if the war never existed, as if aggression has no price. Before I break down why this is a pure fiction and legal nonsense, just listen to this madness for a moment.
Therefore, even now, before we make a decision on participating in the composition and work of the Peace Council, and considering Russia's special relations with the Palestinian people, we could, I think, allocate $1 billion from Russian assets frozen by the previous US administration to the Peace Council. By the way, the remaining funds from our assets frozen in the US could also be used for the reconstruction of territories affected by hostilities after a peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine is concluded. This possibility is also being discussed with representatives of the US administration.
I wouldn't be surprised if Trump actually bought this and handed Putin money to rebuild the territories Russia itself occupied and destroyed. But here is the scene. The aggressor pays for the damage. Russia started this war. Russia leveled peaceful cities: Mariupol, Pokrovsk, Bakhmut, Orikhiv. They wiped them off the map. And now they expect someone else to foot the bill? That's pure cynicism. Meanwhile, Russian TV is busy justifying their aggression with NATO expansions. Here is the truth. Ukraine is not in NATO, its future there is uncertain, but Russia keeps hammering away at Ukraine anyway.
There is nothing to talk about with all this. They all perfectly understood that the moment they started talking about NATO, they were condemning the country to a conflict with Russia. All geopolitics, and I will never get tired of repeating this, comes down to one simple thing: the flight time of the enemy's missile. From Warsaw, we have time to intercept it. From near Kharkiv, we don't. The moment they let NATO in, they knew perfectly well that we would never allow missiles to be deployed near Kharkiv. Under no circumstances. You cannot live with a knife at your throat.
But in reality, the only one launching missiles and making threats is not NATO, it's Russia. And they are not just talking, they are actively using them against Ukraine. Yet somehow, according to Trump, this is the same Putin who's ready for peace. Yeah, sure.
We have started using specially developed high-caliber weapons, very affordable, and which do not use satellite guidance systems. A different system. They cannot be suppressed. And they fly 77 kilometers, and some even farther. To get to Kharkiv, that's not much of a distance. This means Kharkiv is becoming uninhabitable. And just like people are fleeing Kiev now, they will have to flee Kharkiv or remove Zelensky's government.
That's it for today. While the Russian propaganda machine keeps running, we'll keep exposing their lies. I'm Sofia, and this was Spin Snipers. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and don't fall for their spin.